bring in Coach Doug Dinan from Carroll High School and these Chargers who wrapped up the season with a victory. Coach, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, we're putting one foot in front of the other, I guess you could say, at this end.
Absolutely, one day at a time.
We don't play, but I feel like I've taken enough bumps and bruises through the year that I probably need a week or two off to.
You got Shannon. Is this your bye week too?
That was last Friday.
Last Friday. I was gone, and everything hit the fan, so to speak. But I guess that's a good question leading into tonight is you guys have a bye this week, and how will you utilize this week for your kids after coming off a pretty grueling year? Now you got a week and you're prepping for Warsaw, and that kind of goes into my second question with Warsaw being what they like to do offensively. How are you guys going to utilize this week for you and your kids?
Well, first of all, Warsaw is a very good opponent, very good football team, and we take and we have done this in the past couple of years. We take this week very routine. Monday through Thursday, we will practice our normal routine. Monday is more of a walkthrough day. We're in helmets only. We're talking about install. We're playing a little 7-on-7. It's a very light day. We'll be off by about 5:30, and then Tuesday and Wednesday are big days, and they are grueling, physical days for us, and they will be the same this week. And then Thursday again is a kind of a redefine and define things for the upcoming Friday typically. We'll do the same thing this week, and then next week we'll roll in and repeat that plan, and we play on the following Friday. But we'll take this Friday off. We won't bring kids in at all. It's our fall break in school, and so they're out of school, and so it'll be a good week, good weekend for the kids to be away, and they're off school on Monday. But we will practice on that following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then at Warsaw, the following Friday.
Looking back at the year here and having those two non-conference games, how did you feel that helped overall with your season and such, as you have now a chance to a little bit of reflection back?
Well, I think it made the beginning of the year very impactful. Many times, and nothing against any opponents, but if you open up with some softer schedules and teams that that you're going to beat, you're not tested, but we were battle tested right from the beginning, with Hamilton Southeastern and Warren Central, and then battle tested, with Snyder early. And so, our team understood, and they knew, deficiencies. They knew what we had to work on. We knew areas that we had to improve on. And I think it was very beneficial for us. And I think, as you alluded to within the changes in the conference, these two non-conference games, big games against indie opponents was very, very beneficial for us.
One other question I had this year, and it goes a little bit to maybe how you use Jimmy throughout this season. Really didn't see much of him in terms of the pre-designed quarterback run stuff that most people will see out of some of the spread offense, where you have that design system for the quarterback, and you guys started getting back to it in the latter part of the season. It's almost if people forgot that how good an athlete Jimmy is in terms of what he brings to the table, not just throwing the football, but his ability to run the football. Was there a reason why you waited towards the latter part of the year? Was there anything just from the standpoint of trying to eliminate as many hits as possible that he could take, and all those things that go through coaches' minds throughout the planning process for the season?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're spot on. I mean, it's a long year. I mean, it's the regular season is a long season, and Coach Papagiannis and I would have continual conversation about, what are our quarterback runs this week, and for about 6 weeks, I said, we've got to minimize his hits. We've got to minimize his runs. Let's utilize him in the pass game. Come week 7, I said, it's time to go. And we had to prepare for playoffs. Comes week 7, 8, and 9, and so we put the quarterback runs, back in and utilized him on empty run plays, quarterback keeps, the old quarterback follow and the old dart play, and all of those things, even outside zone, which is a quarterback, keep play. Those are designed runs, and it's time for him now to carry that load, both running and passing, and it's go time. And so we brought those quarterback runs back into the shuffle.
Yeah, I'll mute there.
I am.
No, my compadre.
Yeah, there we go. Coach Doug Dinan joining us tonight on Upon Further Review. Coach, last year you guys get to state that magical run. You guys did a lot. You get a lot back this year. The hunger for this team, for what they were able to do last year heading into this playoffs, I felt just looking at you guys in the early part of the summer that there was a lot of where, you picked up from where you kind of left off from a year ago in a lot of ways. Talk about where this team is compared to a year ago as far as what they were able to take away from that experience and how they're applying it as they get ready for this next run.
Well, the maturation process was, something that had to take place. I mean, we've got, 2 receivers that are sophomores, a junior tight end that played very little for us last year at all. Hansen being the only returning starter in those 4 guys. Obviously, Jimmy and Nate are returning starters, but they're still young. They're only juniors, and an offensive line that was replacing many guys. And so, it was them learning, them understanding, them being battle tested, being against big opponents, and the growth happened, and their understanding of the offense, the speed, the necessity of physicality on the outside, all of that took place. And over 9 weeks, they have grown, they have understood, and they understand the importance, at every position. Offensively, we feel if we take care of the ball, then we're going to be in every game. And the same was true very much on the defensive side. I mean, we had, some very good leaders, in our secondary with Jorge Valdez last year, and replacing those guys and replacing a couple guys up front on the defensive line, was the key. And they have grown. They have learned how to play the physicality of 6A football. And we feel that we've got a chance if we continue to play at this level.
Certainly. And you talked about the defense a little bit too, but they've shown up big. I mean, I know we talk a lot about the offense, but just as a well-oiled machine for you guys and what you guys are able to do offensive and defensively, it kind of feeds off of each other. That dynamic for your team. What has been most impressive for you as this coach of the Carroll Chargers this year that you've seen from a group that made it down to Indianapolis a year ago?
Well, I think it's the unity, and the culture that is in the class. I mean, the culture that is in the locker room with all, the character and the class that they continually show. Guys like Ashton Pasetsky, Braden Steele being senior leaders, and they continue to push everybody to a higher level. And that's what we have to have if we're going to, again, make a run deep in the playoffs. You've got to deal with adversity. You've got to deal with close games. You've got to be able to come from behind, and we've been tested in all those situations. Right now we're dealing with adversity with some guys being injured, and we're hoping that they're going to be able to come back here in a couple of weeks. But if not, then it's the next man up, and guys got to be ready to play.
Certainly.
Yeah, you had Starks. I know he was a little banged up against Homestead, I believe, in that game that we covered. But Green really came in and did a pretty good job for you guys. And now he's just a junior as well. So you've got a pretty talented backfield there that are only juniors. Talk about Green and his development to where he's really stepped in and kind of carried some load there for you guys.
what Nate Starks is, a returning starter, and
Hmm.
been dealing with a hamstring injury. Goes clear back in the spring when he was running track, and so he's continually battled that and fought through that. And there was a couple weeks where he couldn't go, and Dejon Green, stepped in and had very, very good games, and continually, carries the load and does his job and is a great teammate. Him and Nate continually talk about, their offensive responsibilities. And that's the example that you have to have. If somebody isn't able to go, then that next man has to be able to play at a high level for you to continue to be able to play at a high level as a team.
What talk a little bit here and about the the SAC and how it the two divisions and such. Did you like the way it was done this year in terms of having the two divisions and having crossovers and understanding that with two games being devoted to outside competition, not everybody was going to get to play everybody. What was your thoughts on that dynamic this year?
I am totally in support of the schedule, even moving forward as what we're doing in the conference. The two games that each school schedules outside of the conference, it's completely up to them as to the level that they want to schedule. We made choices to schedule some Indianapolis teams that are very, very good traditional football programs, and that will continually tell us and indicate to us that the level that we have to be at. This next year, we will play in 2024, I should say, we will play Hamilton Southeastern and Center Grove. Okay, so and also within the schedule, we didn't, or Lures didn't have the opportunity to play a couple of schools, a couple of bigger schools, and that's ourself and Snyder, but that will change. You have a home and away situation. This next year in 2024 will essentially be the same schedule. Flipping the home and aways for everybody,
Hmm.
and then teams will roll off. For instance, for us, we didn't play Concordia and Lures, and so in 2 years those teams will roll back onto our schedule. And two other teams, from the other division will roll off. The design of the conference or design of the schedule is for two things. One, to give everybody the opportunity to play games outside of your conference, to do whatever it is you want to do, build a program, test your program, play against bigger schools, secure wins, whatever that is that you want. And two, allow some of the smaller schools that are looking to build, are continually looking to improve, to get some bigger schools off of their schedule, for a 2-year window, and that was successful. And a team like Southside, it's very beneficial that they don't have to play two big schools, in a 2-year rotation, so that they can schedule against other schools, they can get some wins, and they can build a program.
To that end, Coach, too, Friday night, what was for Carroll? Were you guys surprised at the end of the night that the SAC title was not partially yours, or were you familiar with the circumstances that were kind of playing out there, or because a lot of the people in Carroll felt like it got taken away from them? What, from your perspective, where was that going into Friday night as far as what your team was going to do?
Here's the bottom line. Here's what happened in 2020. Okay, we won every game in the conference and won the conference outright. Okay, if we don't lose to Snyder, then we don't have this conversation. If we desire to win the conference, then you got to win all the games. You can't have a head-to-head competition within your division and lose that and expect to still be within a tiebreaker situation. Okay, in my perspective, this was only my perspective, that we were looking at two divisions, and you would have a winner of Division A, winner of Division B, and then you would look at the head-to-head competition that you would have between those two winners of each division. If there is and you could determine a conference overall conference champion if that happened. If you don't have a head-to-head competition as we had this year, then you tie. And we've had multiple ties within the
Right.
conference, and you share the bell. And it is what it is. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, okay, 100% honest. Okay, two things. One, if we want to win the conference, we got to win all the games. And two, we place much more importance on winning a state championship and winning a sectional, regional, semi-state championship than we do on winning a conference championship. Um, every year we desire for one goal, and our goal is to win a state championship. We don't stop at the end of 9 weeks and say, hey, we won a championship. It's time to stop. It's time to not move on. So it's we put on the wall in the field house at our school, we put championships, sectional, regional, semi-state, and state championships on the wall. Nowhere in our field house will you see conference championships for any team, tennis, cross country, whatever that is, in our field house. And so the priority for us was always and will always be to win in the tournament. And the conference is what it is. Okay. And our congratulations to Snyder, and to Lures. Lures didn't have to play 2 games. Good for them. Okay. That's a 2-year cycle. And 2 years
Right.
after that, they've got to deal with it. And Snyder beat us in head-to-head competition that we had opportunities, and we didn't win. So, congratulations to them too. And they will make arrangements to pick the bell up and paint the bell and enjoy that trophy for the next year.
I respect that answer, Doug. As a coach, I understand exactly what you said there, and I think that's exactly the message that you gave to your kids as well, about this scenario as it pertains to this year and years going forward and things of that magnitude. One last thing here. Hopefully this year in the sectional, and you won't have to be on the road as much as you guys were a year ago, because the travel budget's probably a little bit spent from last year.
Yeah, we're on the road at Warsaw, and they have tremendous facilities. They do.
Absolutely.
It's a great place to go play. I love the environment up there. And they are competitive, and they are a good football team. They are a good football team, with only 1 loss coming to Mishawaka. And, I'm sure we'll talk about that game, but, and it is what it is after that. Then you look at where you're in the bracket, and, are you on the bottom? Did the team that you're going to play, were they home? Were they away? And we hope to be at home as much as we can, and last year we were fortunate for many games within the tournament to play at home. And we hope that that's the case here in 23.
What are the biggest challenges you have facing you with this Warsaw team? I know that I'm sure you guys have started the process of looking at them and then trying to get the breakdowns done, and let me paint the picture a little bit better for maybe those that don't know much about Warsaw. Warsaw is your old traditional wishbone offense, where the fullback is paramount and everything runs off of that. How do you prepare for that team going into this year's sectional?
Right. So first of all, Coach Curtis does a tremendous job.
Mm-hmm.
And any team that runs a wishbone offense is a highly disciplined team. And they want to gain, 3 to 4 yards on each carry. And, the challenge that we have is that we have to get them off schedule. We have to stop the run. We have to stop the dive. We have to put them in situations to where they're not comfortable, and they have, second and long, third and longs. And it creates, situations with your defense that you cannot play your standard house defense, if you will. Things have to change. The responsibility within the defense is everybody has to play assignment football. I mean, there's guys assigned to each portion of the option itself. And you have to be very disciplined in doing so. And in the time that you don't, and somebody doesn't do their job, they end up making big plays. And they want to take the ball, they want to hold on to the ball, and they want to grind clock. and they want to gain 3 to 4 yards, and they want to just be very methodical in their process. And and consequently, their defense is very disciplined at the same time, and they want to get the ball back to their offense
Yeah.
so that they can just possess and take the clock. And for instance, they win a game at the beginning of the year. That's a very close football game. 8-6. But that is not a downfall. To them, that is not a negative at all. They want to possess the ball and take care of the ball the entire time.
Yeah, well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on tonight upon Further Review podcast and speaking candidly about the great season you guys had, everything towards the end, and looking ahead to the sectional matchup with Warsaw and down the road after that as well, perhaps. And appreciate it. And congrats on a great season, and best of luck to you in the state tournament. And I'm sure we'll see you down the road.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, that was Doug Dinan, the head coach of the Carroll Chargers, the state runner-up Carroll Chargers, who will face Warsaw at Warsaw on Friday night or 2 weeks, 2 Friday nights from now. Not this coming Friday, but the following Friday, as Class 6A and Class 5A all kind of have that bye week